Oh, you know it's off the change.
Hey.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you. You're back with the Off the Change podcast. This is our inauguration episode. I'm so excited about this week. That was a great first segment, huh, Kristy?
It sure was. We had some great guests.
Great, fantastic guests. I'm so honored that I even know them. So
Right.
I got my Dr. Steph hat on today. You see that? You see that? I got my doctor.
I see it. I saw
Yeah,
it.
I got my
Dr.
Dr.
Sanders
Steph
is
hat. I
now.
was excited I get to say that today. And we talk about and give our people empowerment in the community financially. We talked about a financial segment last week. We have someone on today that I'm very excited. I am Zoom meeting her for the first time today, but I watch her on social media and she is dynamic. Everything she does turns to platinum. I see it. And she is giving everybody a wealth of information and wealth of knowledge. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you guys. Let me give her a proper introduction. All right. She is vice president of her own company. She has over 2,000 agents. This young lady has over 2,000 employees. How many of y'all can say that? Who else you know got 2,000 employees? See, exactly. Bill Gates, Facebook. Yeah, that only them. She was able to purchase her home after 6 months of being in a credit restoration program. And this is on a segue of, I do credit restoration. And she is the veteran in this game. I'm new to it. And I've watched her and seen what she does. Without further ado, everybody give it up. Podcast Off the Change. Welcome to Dominique Owens, ladies and gentlemen. Dominique.
Woo! Welcome, Dominique.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. I just got to give it back to you. Thank you so much for allowing me and having me on this platform. It's phenomenal. I've been listening to the shows in the past and I just love it. I love what you're doing. So just keep it up. I love this topic because it's so important for people to really understand, like really money management and making sure that their money's going into the right place, especially as we got those stimulus checks rolling in, right? The first thing that pops in mind is like, oh, I need to get this. I need to buy that. And
the gold grill, Jordan's gold grill chain. That's what I want right now.
Yep. You already know the biggest TV out there, like all those kind of things. But what I'll tell you is even from experience, I changed my mindset, on what I financially needed versus my wants, right?
That's good.
Yep. That's right.
Yep. So as you're getting these stimulus checks, it's just important. Like a lot of people, there are some people who definitely like, let me go pay off some debt, right? We got those people. But the one thing is that I just want people to understand paying off your debt. What does that mean? Are you looking to like improve your credit or are you looking to become debt free? Because sometimes going after these accounts and paying them off, you could go pay $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on a debt and not even let your credit score move.
Wow.
Right? Yep. So it's important to even have guidance because you want to know if I'm going to go put my money towards it. And I'm not saying not to pay your debt off. We want to become debt free too, right?
Be smart about it. Be smart about it.
Absolutely. But if your goal is to improve your credit, you want to attack the accounts that are impacting your credit, right? So when we're dealing with like these collections and stuff, just because you pay it off doesn't necessarily mean it's going to boost your score.
Yeah.
Right.
I found that.
And on strategic ways to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And on top of that, like, let's negotiate. Let's negotiate and ask them to remove it from our credit. Let's negotiate and ask them to mark it as paid as agreed versus settled. Because that matters, right?
That's important. Say that again because that's important nugget. Yeah.
Right. It's like you want to pay it off and have them mark it as paid as agreed versus settled.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so I just want to really, as you get these stimulus checks, you need guidance, find it so you can make sure you're putting your money to the place that's going to help you boost your credit. Yeah. So the 5 tips I really just want to leave with people, when it comes to your credit, like the number one thing is 35% of your credit makes up payment history. It's not worth missing a payment. Pay your bills on time. Man, it is not worth it. Pay those credit cards, pay your car note, pay it on time. I know sometimes bills are getting waived, but if it's reporting to your credit that you're missing payments, it's not even worth it. Pay it.
Yeah, 35%. That's great.
And then 30% is credit card utilization. So some people are like, I'm not getting a credit card. I don't want one. Well, that's 30% of your credit score, about 162 points worth.
Right.
Wow.
So go get a credit card. You can't get a credit card. Go get a secured credit card where you have to use your money, use that stimulus check,
Yeah.
and get a credit card so you can start building that portion of your credit score.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
15% is length of credit. Some people are like, oh, I'm going to pay my credit card off and then I'm going to close it. Don't close
Don't
it.
do it.
You
Yeah.
want that length, right?
Yes.
The longer, the better. Don't close them. Just get responsible.
Yes.
Right.
That's it, right?
Exactly. Be
So,
grown. Grow
the
up. Grow up. Pay your credit card on time.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right. Because
So,
people forget you need that. If you're looking at, let's say, buying a home, real estate property, if you don't have that history and
Established
if you
credit.
don't have that build, you're not going to be able to get approved.
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Yep.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure you're covering 5 areas. The other 2 areas, 10% being you don't want to have a whole lot of new inquiries. When you start seeing your credit increase, people want to go out there, start applying for a bunch of things. But listen, that just makes you look desperate for credit. It doesn't help you, right? If
Yeah.
you get denied somewhere, just stop there, right? Let's fix the problem.
But we've been
Instead
told,
of
somebody gonna get it. Somebody gonna get it.
right, somebody's
Yeah.
gonna approve
Yeah.
me. I'm gonna find them. I'm gonna go down, look, and let's be honest.
Yep.
The neighborhoods that got like, the more
Yeah. Yep.
low income areas, they'll approve you, but what's the cost for it?
Predatory lenders and all of the
Right.
40% interest rates, and we think that's
Yep.
good. You paying
Let's run your
$850
credit.
on a scooter. Yeah, I know.
Right, right. And let's run your credit 20 times to find somebody to approve you.
Right.
So,
Right.
and then 10% is based on revolving and installment loans. So you want to have variety. Some people are like, well, I got one account, I'm good. You want to have like at least 2 to 5 accounts
Diversify.
reporting. There you go.
Diversify.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much, Dominique.
Oh, of course, man. Just use those stimulus checks responsibly. It's level up season. I bought a house in 6 months
That's
with
what's
less
up.
than perfect credit. So yeah, go out there. Let's own
Congratulations.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
Yes.
hey, and to tell the people, Dominique is going to be with us periodically. I'm taking her. She's going to be with us periodically. She, going to be with us. But tell them where they can find you, Dominique, as far as your handles and everything, what you're doing.
All right. So definitely you can find me. You could go to textdominique.com and you could you can add your information. You could get some information from me. You'll get some links to follow me on social media. So textdominique.com, text DOMINIQUE.com. Put your information in there and then you'll be able to connect with me on social media, schedule a consultation, just get additional information. It's about financial literacy.
Hold on. Not a date, fellas. I know y'all this is on video, so y'all looking right now saying, oh my goodness, I've been so lonely during COVID. I got this ain't a dating site in text. For business only. Okay, go ahead, Dominique.
Yeah, so definitely let's keep it professional. Let's connect. I'm all about providing financial literacy. You can even join my group. It's free education. We got letters in there you can use for your credit. So textdominique.com. Look me up, and thank you all for having me. I'm super excited.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.
Being with us.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate
enjoy the rest
knowledge.
of your day. Enjoy the rest of your day. We appreciate that knowledge. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Fantastic. Kristy.
Awesome. Yes.
Good knowledge, right? We honored to have some good people on here. I know some people. See what I'm talking about? Stick with me. I told you. I know some folks. You understand me?
I believe you.
I know some people. So perfect segue into what we're talking about today. So when I started this platform, I really was interested in because I have 2 passions, which is education and comedy, education and entertainment. And so education, as far as the education, I grew up when I came home from reading like at the stories on Abraham Lincoln, 6, 7 years old. My uncle and my parents would put in my hand Miseducation of a Negro. We'll put in my hand John Hope Franklin. We'll put in my hand Class Struggle, Kwame Nkrumah. And so I grew up reading these books, right? And knowing about, I'm like, we this is all about the same thing, the subjugated people being subjugated just in different ways throughout these centuries and these years, right? And so with this inauguration happening, with everything that's happened in the last 4 years, and even with having a black president 8 years before that, I said, I hear so many people, young people saying, why our voice doesn't matter, our vote doesn't matter, politics is not for me, it's not about us. And in a lot of ways, they're right. but I want them to, I want to give them hope that we can change that, right? So I have, we have two dynamic gentlemen on today, and I want you to introduce them, but I also want you to go through some things you wanted to talk about in this vote.
Right. Well, I want to lead us into this conversation because a lot of people always say like, well, I don't want to vote because it's not going to matter. It's not going to count. Or, they're just not interested.
Yeah.
But they don't understand the history of how long it took for people to be able to vote.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm going to go back a little bit now. I'm not going to go through I'm going to miss some timelines, obviously, but I want to highlight some very important ones so that we can focus on that to get people's, minds kind of jogging and to maybe change their mindset a little bit of why it's important to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to touch the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, and the 24th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution. That applies to everybody. That's a U.S. citizen or has become a citizen that can actually vote, right? So back in the 1910s, Native Americans, now remember, they're a native to this land. They could not vote.
People. Indigenous,
exactly. They couldn't vote unless they dropped their tribal ties, became a citizen, and then also served in World War I. It was like you had to show so much involvement in order for them to give you, in order to give you that right to vote. 1920, women were allowed to vote. And I'm going to stress this, white women. It wasn't just women, all women. It didn't fly across the board. 1870s, African Americans were starting to vote, but many of them were denied at the polls. We know that because MLK was still MLK was still fighting for civil rights. 1965 Voting Rights Act finally was signed into law that allowed everybody to vote, especially African Americans. 1952 Asian Americans were allowed to vote. Now 1960s Hispanics also fell right into that line of when they started voting. And then 1971 they finally lowered the age from 21 to 18 because they figured, well, if people can serve in NAM at 18, why can't they vote?
Why can't they vote?
I could die for my country, but I can't vote.
I can't vote on the policies that are sending me there.
Exactly. And then in 93, you finally had the ability to actually register to vote at DMV. And, you can also register when you're in college and that sort of thing. But so you look back at that and said, okay, we've come a long way in the last 100 years. But we still have so much to do and so much more to go. So I want everyone to think about that, and then let's talk about this as an open platform of why it's important for people of color to vote.
And to care about these policies. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you. You want to introduce our guest for us?
Yeah, so we've got Raphael on the line, and we also have Rashid on the line today. So I appreciate you two joining us and talking about this topic because I think it's really important for the youth out there to see this as they're coming into adulthood and really seeing what's important and how they can make a change.
Yeah.
All right. So Raphael, go ahead. You can introduce yourself. Tell us what you do.
Yeah, my name is Raphael Jemmott. I'm a native of Sacramento, born and raised in Sacramento. I wear a lot of hats. I work at Fortune Early College High School and Middle School, which is a charter school dedicated towards closing the African American achievement gap.
Yes.
And also, as an early college high school, our high school students take high school and college courses.
I love it.
They can graduate with up to 2 years of college done for free.
Yes.
So
they can have an associate's when they graduate. That's important.
Actually, and we just found out that they are actually our seniors this year are graduating with 2 associate's degrees.
Wow.
Fantastic. Yeah, isn't that awesome? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a game changer. It's tuition free, so it's almost like that private school education, but it's a public school, so we do not charge a tuition. And so this is an opportunity to change the game. So when I moved back to Sacramento, found out about the school. Margaret Fortune was actually my principal when I went to Sac High.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I had to get involved with this, and so I do that. I get involved with a community organization called Hawk that mentors young men that are at risk. So, I've been all over the place, mentoring, education, youth, and I also coach basketball. So it's my passion.
You touching it every
I'm everywhere. And so, that is definitely something that is something that I've been inspired to do. When I have the opportunity to talk about it, all you got to do is ask. And
I love it.
I'm definitely a part of that. And basically, when people bring up that subject in terms of why vote, I just bring up the conversation in terms of, do you know the history behind voting?
Right.
You know, because if it was something that didn't matter, there wouldn't be all these things put in place to try to keep you from doing it.
Right.
Right.
So, and you know, especially for us as in the Black community, you know, knowing our history, because that is, you know, unfortunately, it's withheld from us more than any other culture.
Yes.
And you know, a lot of the things that I learned about our culture that was positive, I didn't really get a chance to learn until I got to college.
Yeah.
Which for me, I was happy and mad at the same time, because one, I'm learning these great things about my people, but I'm like, why now? And so, for one, a lot of people don't realize how much power we actually had after the Emancipation Proclamation. A lot of people think that we went from slavery to Jim Crow, and that's not true. Jim Crow didn't really start getting enacted until the early 1900s. We were, in a sense, freed around 1865. There was a gap, and a lot of people don't talk about, which is called Reconstruction. And during that time, we actually were voting our own people into Congress. We were voting our own mayors, governors, things of that nature. And it was a reaction to all of this progress that you saw Jim Crow. And so that was a snapback to the power that we understood and were starting to exert. And because of that, we had our own communities, our own cities. A lot of people talk about Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma. That was just one of many.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, most people don't realize Central Park is Central Park because it used to be a Black city.
Used to be a Black city,
so a Black town, I should say. And then also, you know, even in Atlanta, Oscarville, you know, which was flooded by a lake, or flooded by a dam and turned into a lake. And so these are the things that happen because of the threat. And so when they see a threat is a threat because it has power, not because it's worthless. And so being able to vote is a form of power. And so I teach people, first learn your history, because me personally, I don't say that somebody should just vote just to vote. You got to know what you're doing, or else you can be just as dangerous as a person.
Yes, be an educated vote. I tell people there's a lot of educated fools out here. So
yeah, I call it fake vote.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being with us today, Raphael. I'm gonna look forward to hearing more about that, because I want to talk specifically about that power, that and the threat to power, and that's why they do the things they do. Rashid, my brother.
Sir.
We go way back, man. We go way back, and I've watched you work, and I'm very proud of you. Tell my listeners, man, who you are, what you do, and give us some insight.
Well, I'm a product of Sacramento and by the way of Houston, Texas. And I've participated in a few organizations, nonprofit organizations like the Urban League, Center for Fathers and Families, the California Black Chamber, the NAACP. But now I am starting my own nonprofit, which I named Lift Up Love Always, which is an acronym for L.U.L.A, which is my mother, who passed away when I was about 26.
Love that.
I'm past 26 now. No, I'm like
about 28. I see you about 28. I see.
Yeah. So and I did that because I wanted to focus on alternative energy, restorative justice, and education. And it's funny, we talk about the Jim Crow, and Brother Raphael spoke about, and I was going to talk about my book is The New Jim Crow.
The New Jim Crow.
Right. So we all on the same page and the same mindset. I think that if we're going to be taxpayers and participating in this everyday hustle and bustle of America, we should have a voice in it. And so I think everyone who is paying taxes should be participating in the voting process.
Okay.
You know, if you're not paying taxes, then maybe it don't matter to you.
Right.
But if you are paying taxes, and I really, I try to, I was once that kid that I was rebellious and going into college, we had Desert Storm, and I didn't know anybody in Desert Storm and had no enemies. So I didn't want to go and sign up for a war I didn't have any value in. And so I had to understand the right to vote. And so I really thought America was not for me. It was for other people. And so now with growing up and being of age, now I realize I do have power and my vote does count. And so locally, especially, I mean, we have the, you know, your state and city and county local jurisdictions that we can vote on and have direct impact on what our daily activities may be. You know, and yeah, I mean, on measures, on propositions. And so all of these things have direct effects. Every 2 years, these things are coming into play. And if we don't educate ourselves on what is coming down the pipe, who is our representative? Like we have Kevin McCarty for the Sacramento area. We have Senator Pan, you know, is our representative. Everyone should know, and you should know your city council member who's representing your district. Right? So you may not, you know, ever see Kamala Harris. You may not ever see Biden or Trump or whoever that is.
Or any of his cabinet.
Anybody in his cabinet, right? But you can walk up to that city council and have your voice heard. And you can talk to your city council representative, you know, or you can speak to the city manager. And so I promote everyone to at least listening to your local city council that goes on every Tuesday at 3 o'clock and just hear what's being said and how you can be of an impact in your local community. And so that's my push, is that we participate locally. I know you talked about a national look, and I think some of us, you know, the elephant is real big, you know, but sometimes if you just take a little piece of it,
bite at a time. That's how you eat an elephant. Bite at a time.
And we can knock it down. But, you know, I like to look back on the Alabama bus boycott. You know, they came together and they broke that system, and made them listen to their voice. It took a year, but they came together as a people. And I think if we can, you know, galvanize our thoughts and come together and take down all these walls that people try to put up that doesn't allow us to come together, I think we could be more powerful. Because we got, you know, we have an industry right now. The new tobacco road is their cannabis, right? And so they've made a lot of money on tobacco, and they've made a lot of money on marijuana laws with us in this new Jim Crow in these prison systems. And so now the city has developed a program called the CORE program for local folks in certain zip codes to participate and get educated on the cannabis laws and how to devise their business plan, how to go after dollars, how to start up their business. And now they have applications out for everybody to participate. I think it has been an injustice from the mayor to city council through the state. And if we don't come together, this opportunity is going to slip away from us.
That's a great point that you make. And it's a good segue, because I was going to talk about how I used to think reading these books and hearing it as I was coming up, because I was groomed to be a politician. My parents wanted me to be the first Black governor, senator of Ohio.
Wow.
And so I was in Congressional Black Caucus when I was 16, and Congressional Advisory Council when I was 16, and so forth. And I went to law school thinking I was going to do that. But as I realized that there's a difference in being controlling the mode, the means of production of something, and symbolism. And I say that to stay with me on this. So we had the first Black person that ran for president, that I remember at that time was Jesse Jackson, right? And then we had the first Black president, Barack Obama. Then we had the first Black. So what
Shirley Chisholm was the first.
No, I know she was the first. But I'm saying just what I remember, right? And I'm saying in my memory. But what I realized is that after I've seen these things, it's a bunch of symbolism, but no change. So with the same problems we're dealing with now, that we're dealing with from the 60s, 70s, 50s, like she said, 1870s and so forth, we're not changing the mode, the means of production, the foundation of anything, right? So that local thing came into play. How do we change? And that is groom our local leaders to then move up, do the things that we're supposed to do at those levels, and then do them at the next level, and so forth and so on, like your JV team that you originally go to varsity.
Right.
So how do you guys feel about like the work that needs to be done now? Because yes, we have Kamala. I'm glad she's in there. I'm glad Senator Pan and so forth. But how do we, what work needs to be done that we can really hold those persons accountable for doing something once they're there? And how do we help them fight the system? Because everybody say Barack didn't do anything. He didn't do this. I say they weren't gonna let Barack Obama go in there and do nothing for like just make it all black and bring Ice Cube to play on Sundays. And, you know, it wasn't going to be that way. So how do we do that from a standpoint of bite, like you said, bite by bite, Raphael?
Well, I mean, I love that debate when people try to say Barack Obama didn't do anything. I call that's fake woke again. That's fake woke.
Yeah, me too.
You know, in terms of the different, first of all, you got to understand how politics works. Politics, just because of the face doesn't mean anything. The person in the position doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
Who put them there? So a person in politics got to the position through the support or whoever their constituents are. So when you talk about like somebody keeping somebody accountable, they're already accountable to the constituents who got them there. And so if you didn't put that person into their position, they have no reason to listen to something you got to say later on because you didn't get them there. So, you know, for example, we have a local person running for senator, that's Coy Porter. You know, I don't really know what his politics are. I don't know how much, you know, he doesn't have a whole lot of experience, but his constituents more than likely is us. You know, he's being backed by people,
black churches.
So
he's a pastor.
If we continue, because a lot of people are asking like, why is he going? I was like, I don't really care. I'm gonna support him because more than likely he's going to back policies that have that is in my best interest.
Yeah. Right. In the community, correct.
Exactly. So when we talk about the national, everybody likes the national level because it's all over the news.
It's the sexy. Yeah, it's sexy.
Right, it is. It is the big and sexy.
What directly affects you, like Brother Rashid was talking about, is who's your council member?
Yes.
Who's your mayor? You know,
the city controller, city manager.
Right.
Yes.
And people forget when they go to those meetings, there's public comments available. Like you can speak.
Right. And so
go on, Raphael.
People don't understand how that works. So if you back this person to become city council member, now you have an ear to the entire city policy,
right?
At least for your district. So then you start there. Then you work to mayor. Then you work to, you know, senator, and then governor. Yeah. And so the first part of it is your local level. And so but it doesn't even matter, you know, a lot of times we get so distracted by the look of the person. We forget who backed him. Because the thing is, though, I can tell you what a person's policy is going to be just by looking at who supported their campaign.
Yeah.
So a person was supported by the police union. He or she is not going to do anything that got to do with punishing the police. Why? That's what put him there.
Yeah, he's not gonna wait. He's not gonna have the Black Lives Matter movement on his bumper sticker. Yeah,
right.
and you would be foolish to think otherwise.
Yeah.
You know, and so now if us as a community formed our own political entity, and we called it, you know, the people of SAC, right? And the people of SAC backed this person for city council, and the police union didn't. Something happens with, let's say, a unarmed person being shot, that person doesn't have to answer. Their constituency is not the police union.
Yeah.
So they're not going to have that connection. They're not going to feel obligated to hear what they got to say.
Right.
So we have to be able to first understand how politics work. It's about putting your voting dollars and your voting power. It's not just your vote. It's your campaign money, because they got to be able to get seen.
Yeah.
So if you back them from a financial standpoint, and then they end up making it, they remembered, hey, I need to listen to this group because they were the ones that gave me that $1 million.
It is all influential and, you know, behind the scenes. Correct.
Yeah. So Rashid, what's your feelings on that?
You know, I think one vote, one man, and you know, senators, congressmen, and assembly members, they are all voted in, and they have to, or they report to us. And I think we sometimes forget about it because they are at a certain level, and we feel like they are unreachable. We have some folks that look like us but they may not vote like
all skin folk ain't kin folk, right?
So I you know, sometimes we can get blinded by the color, but you need to be focused on what their policies are. Their policies are, right? What have they stood up for, or what have they laid down with? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I've seen a lot in our times, and I'm speaking in particular to Sacramento, and that you know, we had a big fight here with I think Sacramento has been a great hotbed of organizing. Folks have come together like no other. And I'm originally from Houston. I haven't seen this in Houston, what I've seen in Sacramento. So I want to commend everybody who's come together and fought, because we are an example of the rest of the country and what's possible. But there has been opportunities for us to come together, say like with the police reform. I got this Don't Shoot behind me that my daughter, L.U.L.A, Sidqe, I'm gonna plug her. She's a local artist. She did for me with Michael Brown. But we have, with not just myself, but many others have put together a organized fight with City Council, the mayor, Kevin Johnson, to Mayor Steinberg. And it took, you know, pressure. Pressure takes, it makes people move. And so even though we may not have money, we have numbers. And so we can use our numbers in ways that can push people in the right direction. And so now the country is now in this restorative justice mode. And they weren't, you know, just about 6 months ago, you know, Colin Kaepernick, you know, he couldn't get a handshake. You know? And now he don't look
get a tryout. He can't even get a tryout or nothing.
Man, so you know, after January 6th, they can't say nothing bad about what we did, because we did it organized, and we weren't trying to tear anybody down. We was trying to be heard, because we don't have banks to pull our dollars. We don't have buildings to, you know, we don't have that financial power. But we do have organization power. And I think what I would like for people to understand is that, realize that it's not about money all the time, but you can hurt their money. Because I know when we shut down the Golden One,
I remember that.
Vladimir was at us like, hey, we need to talk, because he was losing $3 million a game. So he wanted to see, hey, what can I do?
Hey, let me just tell you, quick segue. I was a season ticket holder that year. I was kind of mad. Y'all said that. I was like, hey, hold on, I didn't pay this amount. But no, I loved it. It was beautiful, man. And
we didn't need any violence. All we did, we said, hey, no game today. You know, and there were a few people cussing us out, and we just stood our ground. You know what I mean? And so there's ways to organize without violence, without, you know, tearing people's properties up, all that. You can organize, just like the boycott in Alabama with the buses. They didn't have to tear up the buses. They just didn't get on them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And so I just think that we have to tear down the walls of separate, you know, whether we gay, straight, black, white, Mexican, Filipino, whoever we are, we can all come together, because we have a natural born enemy as far as the system. Because a lot of the system has only been developed to really work out for the white man.
Exactly. Yeah, the white elite and the oppression. Yeah, the 1%.
The 1%.
So good segue there. I have a question. So we talk a lot about the Black agenda and so forth. I'm new to California, been here less than 20 years, but in Ohio, so from the Midwest where I'm from, very big Black coalition. Like, so you can come to my city for a week and you do mall, do shopping, do everything. And some people come in and be like, man, there ain't any white people live here? No, because it's so many Black people doing things together. That's when GM was big and so forth and so on. I came here and I love the melting pot. I love the diversity. but everyone seemed to have their own agenda. So there was a Black agenda, Latinx agenda, the Asian agenda, and when I began to talk about, so my purpose was to educate and close the achievement gap for Black and brown babies, right? And so they came at me from both ways. The Latinx was like, yeah, we understand, but we ain't with y'all really, even though we in your school. And Black people was like, I don't know why you mentioning brown people because they don't even like us. So where do you see that in your everyday, since you live in Sacramento, you guys are natives of Sacramento, where do you see that and how do you see a remedy for that, or have you seen that change over time?
Me personally, growing up in Sacramento, I would have to admit at first I didn't really understand the differences between races because the schools I went to were that diverse.
Right.
You know, it wasn't until I got older when you started to see it. And because if you see our neighborhoods are more divided by economic situation as
Class
opposed
struggle.
to racial situation.
Right.
And so you can go into there's poor white folks and Black folks living right next door.
Right.
They won't, and then you go right across over an overpass and it is rich Black folks, rich white folks. And so sometimes it's not, it was not as seen in terms of understood, especially as a child,
Right.
in terms of racial divide, when you're talking about like the 90s. I think what you started to see was there were certain pockets of areas in the outskirts that was all one kind of folks.
Yeah.
And they started seeing us move out closer towards them. And then you started seeing a little bit of the tension. So, you know, I grew up in Meadowview and we moved into Elk Grove my junior year of high school. And this is 2006. So this is when there was a big migration of the Bay Area coming into Elk Grove.
Okay.
So you saw the Elk Grove area and certain people in the Elk Grove area get very tense with all of this just huge influx of color.
So white flight happened. White flight started beginning to happen.
Then you started seeing some of that stuff kind of pop up from the underground.
Right.
And so, you know, that's when you started to see police get positioned at every middle school and high school in Elk Grove.
Okay.
You know, because it wasn't that way when I graduated high school in 2007. I have a baby brother who's 11 years younger than me, and he went to a school, and all of a sudden now every high school is fenced. Every high school has a
police presence,
unarmed police officer. And you know, my family actually had to fight against it because my baby brother was arrested for yelling at somebody, not physically fighting somebody, yelling,
raising his voice
because of who he yelled at. And so it got tense. And so but we ended up finding out it was policy that police could interview a child and tell the school not to call the parents.
Not to call the parents. Yeah.
That's insane to me.
I know about that policy. Yeah.
So we argued against it. But see, you also have to know the game. You got to go to the school district meeting and basically put up their policies and say, what's up with this policy? Because it's recorded now, it's in their minutes, and they can't say, oh, you know, we didn't understand that people didn't like it, because now I put it on public record that we got a problem with it.
Yeah.
And so that is when you started to see those divides visibly. Not saying that it wasn't there in the 90s. We just didn't see it as visibly until like 2009, 2010s. But I mean, certain schools were put in certain places to kind of keep kids away from other kids and other communities. And so, you know,
I read a study that we are actually more segregated now in the last 15 years, 25 years, excuse me, in the United States period, than we were when it was the Jim Crow and segregation before Board v. Education, before the Civil Rights, everything, Brown v. Board, before all of that. And so it makes sense because I see it with my own eyes now. As a kid, like you say, you don't really see it, but I see it visibly now. But go ahead, brother.
Well, absolutely. You know, I mean, and I mean, my dad always said, if you want to go see where everybody really goes, go to their church, and then check out and see what's really like, because that my church was straight black,
Yeah.
and so you know, but that was the only time that I actually got a little bit of my history, because I wasn't taught it in school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, learning about Jackie Robinson, I had no idea who Jackie Robinson was if it was just my elementary school teachers.
Hank
Wouldn't
Aaron,
know
the brother that just passed, the home run leader.
Hank Aaron, all
Yeah.
of them, you know, and so those are the we have to take charge of educating our children.
Yeah.
And because what society is trying to tell us is to be colorblind. You know, and
nobody's colorblind.
And that's nobody's colorblind. And that's dangerous.
That's the biggest lie in America.
Yeah, that's
you know,
so dangerous.
There's jokes that you can say to a black person, you can't say to a Jewish person.
Yeah.
Right.
Or there's jokes that you can say amongst an Asian person, you can't say it to us.
Right.
Because there are cultural differences.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that what we are seeing now is that it is being forced, because we're not asking anymore. We used to ask at certain times.
Ask permission.
We're not asking anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want to say I kind of halfway agreed with what Brother Rashid was talking about in terms of the money aspect, because we do have spending power. We do have, we're one of the strongest buying powers. We just don't know how to use the buying
and we don't produce. We're consumers.
Right. We're consumers.
Over $1 trillion, but we don't produce.
But for example, there's about 60,000 black folks in Sacramento alone. You know, if you ask each black person just to give $10, well, guess what? Now you have $600,000 that you can use to say, we will back you for mayor.
I agree with that. And I'm gonna come back to that point, but we all got to agree on something, and that's the problem there. So, Rashid, tell me what you about that division I was talking about. What are your feelings on that?
Well, you know, let me say this: we are a nation of laws. We create laws, we amend laws, and we abolish laws, right? So everything that's created can be amended, and then we can also vote things out. And so my thing is to make sure that we, on a grassroots level, that we support people who support our ideas. And Raphael, let me make clear what I was saying about financial power. We are the only group that we don't have a national black bank. We don't have that kind of power. You know, you got the Japanese got theirs, the Latinos got theirs. Black folks have been bamboozled out of, you know, our reparations check or whatever. You know, they gave it to us and took it back and all the whatever the case is. You know, I ain't gonna go down that road. But there is a separative group here, and it's really not by race, but it is by class. You know, so we have folks that look like us in this class that will never, you know, we won't see them walking the streets. No. You know, some of the folks who are getting the most, you'll never see them protesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they feel like their policies don't affect them because of their class.
It don't affect them. Yeah. Because they have inside people who are moving things for them. You know, some folks who get in positions that look like us are happy that they got this position.
Yes.
And they want to keep this position in this and being on this pay scale. And so if little Negro Rashid is over here, you know, rattling the cage, it's easier to hush me than to go and step up to the table.
Because you're not at war with the status quo like you are. They're gonna stay with the status quo. And that's what I meant by the symbolic win. It's a face there, like you said, the face doesn't matter. If you're not talking about the policies and things we're talking about, it's actually more dangerous.
Exactly.
It's actually more dangerous. So yeah, I agree.
And I saw a lot of this with the Stephon Clark case, with all of this police. I didn't realize if you follow the money, you will see where their policies are and who they're going to side with. So the DA had already had them in the pocket. She had, you know what I mean? So they had already, you know, campaign contributions, and they had been on that.
Yeah.
So they not gonna vote against their money.
No.
You know what I mean? So no matter how unjust, no matter how many shootings, she ain't never prosecuted not one cop.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Backed by the
so
police.
how can you hold anybody accountable and you've never put them to task?
Right.
Nobody's questioning it.
Yeah.
Nobody, black, white, or indifferent. You know what I mean? And so I really realized that, man, you follow this money, you'll see who's on your
like
side
you
and
said.
who's not.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm talking about is when, it's like a private school. Raphael was talking about private school. When the parents is paying, the parent got a lot of voice.
A lot of voice.
Mhm,
A lot of
that's right.
voice.
A lot of voice.
Now black
Oh,
parent
yeah.
walking up to Grand High School screaming, and you ain't paid
Yeah.
us that. I'm gonna get the same check whether or not I listen to you or not, and I'd rather not listen to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm gonna push you on out the door. But
Yeah.
you go up there to Jesuit talking that same stuff, then they go, "Oh, okay, Mr. Sidqe, well, what you need and what's the problem?" And we're gonna try to work that through. But if you don't have no money power and you can't pull anything away from it, that's what I'm talking about, financial power.
Even in the public schools, we do have money power.
ADA.
It's your child.
Your child. That's what I was going to say.
That's right. Yep, absolutely.
Putting money in their pockets.
Yeah.
So
Right.
when you say, because there was a group of young kids that was upset what was going on at Sac High.
Sac High, I remember that.
Yep.
And they weren't going into the class. They were going to school, but standing out in the front.
Yep.
That's right.
And people don't realize how powerful it was, because what they were doing was denying that
Average
school.
daily attendance. You're taking away your ADA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
absolutely. Yep,
And so-
messing up that funding.
Yep.
That's right.
So what I tell people is, yes, you follow the money, but the money is not always just physical dollars.
Right.
It's coming from somewhere else. So yes, we do. We can go to a grant and say we want this policy. If not, we're taking, let's say we organize 200 kids and we're going to go put them in this school over here. They'll say, wait a minute. Okay, well, listen. And you got to say the district too, because the district they don't care which school's going where.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as they get them dollars.
As long as they get them dollars.
But see, that's why, like, for example, us, like a charter school is such a threat to everybody, because now we have given families options.
Yeah.
Right.
Because see, my biggest argument against your neighborhood schools is that it kind of forces classism.
Yes.
You have to go to the school
Absolutely.
in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if you live in a nice neighborhood, that's fine.
Right.
You're forced to go to a school that's probably low funded.
Right.
Maybe some
That's
teachers
that redlining.
had some issues. Some of them are good. I'm not going to bash all the teachers that some of them are fighting the fight, but they just aren't given the resources that are needed to be able to educate all of these students.
But let me also tell you what it funnels, Raphael, just to break in real quick. It also funnels the knowledge and how you learn, and what you then become a resident of that same district and who you vote for.
Right.
So,
Right.
for instance, if you go to, and just using a general example, if you go to a school in a neighborhood with full of Trump supporters, they are not teaching you black history. They're not teaching anything against the conservative, what conservatives believe. So you've been learning that in school as a kid coming up. They hopes that you become a resident of the neighborhood again, and you just perpetuate the same thing. As a school leader, I had to learn that and saw it happen so many times, because as a charter school leader come in, exactly.
I got in trouble when I was working I was in the after school program at a school in Oakland, and we had my enrichment program was just guy talk. So I had a group of boys and we would just talk about topics.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Black history and true history and misconceptions. And so I taught the fact that that George Washington is not the first president of the United States. And so the kids were blown away by that. And for those who don't know, look it up. And so they went back to their history teacher, and we talked about Columbus, because Columbus never stepped foot in North America.
Exactly.
So we were talking about that. So they went to their history teacher and was like, "Why you teach me that George Washington?" Now they're on the knowledge, they're using it against their teacher. Teacher gets mad and goes to the principal, and they try to have a talk. And I said, what did I say that was false?
Yeah. Where's the lie?
Yeah.
You can show me where I lied, I'll apologize.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but the thing was that at that time I didn't realize they had control of the curriculum. And so that's what it teaches us. If we come together and start saying we don't want that taught.
Right.
That's
because,
when you control the mode, the means of the production.
Like how those families understand the power that they have.
Right.
And they use it when they need to.
That's right.
So we just have to understand the power that we have,
right,
and say, listen, if you guys are not going to change this curriculum, we are organizing and putting our kids at this school outside of your district. Good luck getting them funds back.
Right.
That's right.
Like the Teachers Association voted against African American curriculum being taught in our schools, you know, in public schools.
Yeah.
And so I think that told me a lot. And for this group of folks who are in charge of teaching our kids, and they don't want to teach our history.
No.
Come on.
No.
You know what I mean? And so if that is the first thing of you know, getting out of this racist look, is understanding everybody's history. You know what I mean? I want to learn everybody's history. The indigenous people, the Filipinos, the Mexicans, and, you know, everybody.
The Hmong culture, everybody.
Right, Hmong, everybody.
Right.
Yep.
Everybody, yes.
Yeah.
And so when you say you don't want to learn about a person, that means you want to stay ignorant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you want to push this racist agenda. So
because racism works.
A lot. Because Dr. Weber, I think, was pushing that bill to try to get African-American curriculum into the public schools, and the CTA voted it down.
Brother, we've been doing that. We've been doing that since 2003. I wasn't even a school leader then. I was a teacher, and I learned what's called the AMP program. Dr. Shiraki Holly in L.A. had an academic English mastery program, and what it was teaching teachers how to teach kids how to code switch from home language to academic language, and our teachers and back and forth. We did it for a summer school. It was phenomenal. It was very successful. Teachers, the teachers union decided, oh no, we're not going to do none of that. Well, we're good. We're not doing any of that. They're going to learn what we learn and the way we've been teaching for the last 30 years, and that's it. So they shot it down. So it's always something that's going to advance us, or provoke or they actually provoke their power, or make them uncomfortable. They're not going to do, man.
Right.
Anyway. And this is not against teachers.
No.
It's
the truth.
But man, you know.
Well, I will say I'm proud to say that my son goes to a public school within Sac City Unified, and they do learn about Black history. So I mean, I remember. So, Raph, you brought up Jackie Robinson. Now they read about Jackie Robinson. I think it was second grade year.
Yeah.
At the school, he came home. He was upset at me, like I wrote the damn book, like I wrote history. And he got mad. He said, well, Mom, he said, I don't think it's okay that they treat Black people different because of their skin color. And he said, I got Black family. Like, I have a problem with that.
Right.
I mean, he was legit mad when they went through it. Like, he was upset about it.
Right.
And then he asked me, he said, well, am I Black? I'm Black, right? I said, well, no.
You know, it's a trip how other ethnicities come to America, and they look at how, you know, Mexicans or Blacks or Native Americans have been treated, and they just are so surprised. I remember I had a real close friend of mine who was Hmong, and he asked me a question. He said, Rashid, why do you go to white grocery stores?
The way they treat y'all,
right? White grocery stores, it's all, every grocery store is white. You know what I'm saying? And he asked me if how do you trust them? They don't like y'all. Why would you trust their food?
They actually get more conscious than we are.
I had to sit back in my chair, man, and like, wow, you're right, man, you're right. We should grow our own food. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Brother Rashid, Brother Raphael, thank y'all so much for being on the show today, man. We appreciate y'all, man. Real quick, tell everybody where they can find you, your handles, and so forth. Raphael.
Well, you know, like I said, I'm a part of Fortune Early College High School. You know, we are accepting applications for the upcoming.
I like that. I like that plug. Yeah.
You know, I got to promote the school that definitely putting us on.
Yeah.
And, you know, because like we said, we have control over the curriculum at this school.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why, yes, I work there, but I chose to work there because I think it is a part of changing the fabric of our community. And so, you know, I tell people I'm here because I believe in it. So, you know, if anybody is looking for an opportunity for their child, you know, this is the opportunity.
Are you on social media? Are you on IG?
Barely, you know, because I get in trouble being on social media. You know.
Okay. We.
You know, because I'm a coach, and then I see somebody post something up about basketball that don't make no sense. I'm like, Kyrie, James Harden. And then, you know, so, and I'm in an argument with some kid. 12.
Yeah, we don't want none of that. Yeah, Rashid, where can they find you? What's going on?
I'm at. Please look up my my nonprofit. It's at www.LULAGIVENBACK.com.
L.U.L.A
Givenback.com.
Love it.
And yeah, and you can find me there, or on Facebook under my name, Rashid Sidqe, or under my L.U.L.A page.
Not Raphael Sidqe, Rashid.
No,
he don't sing. He don't sing, but he can't sing, probably.
No, I can't sing. And I will not sing.
Hey, so before we go, we got one question for y'all. Kristy, go ahead.
So this is more of a fun question, but before I say that, I just to throw it out there, Raphael and I work together. We both work together. We work together. All right, we work together. So we, I
you know people too.
I know Raphael.
We know some people.
I know Ray.
So anyways, we're gonna ask you guys a question. It's a fun food question now. If you could invite any 3 people to dinner, and they could be dead or alive, any 3 people, who would they be? What would you be serving? Give us some thought.
3 people dead or alive. We've had some great, interesting ones.
Right.
And what would you be serving?
If you're ready, go ahead.
Dead or alive, huh?
Dead or alive.
Dead or alive. Yep, don't matter who it is. And usually, if you're serving something good, me and Steph are going to crash your party.
We crashing. We coming to eat.
Or especially if you have some great guests. Okay, you ready, Raph? Go ahead.
I'm going to have to say Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
Good one. Yeah. Okay.
That's been a problem.
Jesus, just so that I can, you know, take a picture and let everybody know he's black.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
And also because if we run out of drink, you know, we know he'll multiply that.
Right. The wine will keep coming.
And then I would have to say my 3rd person would be Obama.
I love it.
Look at that, man! You got some great people.
What you serving them?
Gumbo.
Oh, okay.
With seafood, right? With seafood.
Well, how else are you supposed to have gumbo?
Right.
Brother Rashid,
you ain't no crab in it, ain't gumbo.
Exactly.
I would have to say, first of all, I would like to, you know, my mom passed away when I was 26, so I would like to have her at the table now that I'm a little growner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And have a conversation with her. I also would like to have Malcolm X at the table.
All right.
And the third person would be a Harriet Tubman. Just
love it.
Mentality. Okay. You know what I mean? Because I would have made the trip one time. I don't know if I would have went back. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. That's what I said.
I said she gangster. You know what I mean?
And what you serving?
I just need to know that mentality. You know
what you serving?
Yeah. Oh, what I'm serving? I would have to serve some fish. You know, something.
Okay.
Of some sort. You know, some clean.
Okay, so you don't eat pork.
My mom. A reason I wouldn't choose gumbo because my mom was like, "Boy, you know,
the roux."
Your roux ain't right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, then you got to make it. It can be any food you want to make.
Yeah.
Hey,
for sure.
Thank y'all again, man, for coming today, man. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all, man. It's been fantastic, and we're going to continue this discussion, man. I hope to have y'all back. That has been Off the Change podcast. Again, you can reach us offthechange@gmail.com. I am Steph Sanders everywhere. My handle's Twitter, Facebook, whatever the case may be, IG. And Kristy, tell them where they can find you.
I'm Kristy Nong. You can find me on IG at Foodie Nong. That's FOODIENONG. If you like to eat, you're going to get hungry looking at my page.
And we cannot forget about the conductor, the man that makes this all go. A serious production.
Yes.
A serious production. And Sharon Smith, give it up to him with Off the Change podcast. Woo! We look forward to seeing y'all next week when we're going to talk about love. And all right, y'all. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Okay. Peace.